when did you realize that singing was your thing?
Um, so singing was never actually like the focus ever. I grew up very musical, so I was very instrument oriented. And then by the time I got into high school and discovered a lot more instrumentation, then I moved to writing music. And so songwriting has always been the main focus. And then I didn't even really get into like appreciating or knowing my own voice until I got to college in the program I was in. And that's kind of when the professors were pushing me to sing my own music because I was just planning to write for other people. And they were like, no, you should sing your own stuff. So that's kind of when I started figuring it out. So.
Very cool. Do you
Mhm.
know, like one of the things, because I play guitar,
Mhm.
when I started playing music,
Mhm.
it was it was a all encompassing, but at the same time, singing was the last thing on my mind,
Mm.
and I didn't feel confident enough to sing in front of people. And it was only when I got old where I would just like chilling in the corner next to the fire, I'd be singing and
Mhm.
playing the guitar and not thinking about it.
Mhm.
Is that something that occurred to you? Is where you were you nervous about singing at first, or?
Kind of, yeah. I think I also grew up in theater, and so I was always like performing throughout my entire life. And so I think I looked at it instead of like being my voice and people hearing me, I was always putting myself in characters and I was always acting or performing. And so I didn't have to worry about the embarrassment of Lillian because I was just having to focus on the embarrassment of whoever I was playing. And so never really like considered it to be myself. And so then when I started singing songwriting, and I would sing what I was making and I would record it and stuff, then I would also be like, "Oh, guys, like the singing's not that good. Like someone else is gonna sing it." And so I would never like put it on myself. So I would not get as nervous. And so then by the time I got to college and was performing my own stuff more often, I got a little bit more self conscious because I was surrounded by a bunch of people who that was their main focus. But right before college, I kind of took some singing lessons to learn how to open up a bit more and to like learn how to properly place notes and to belt and stuff like that. And so I had gained enough skill to be able to kind of explain to someone what I was looking for or what I wanted to do. And then after just doing it consistently by myself all the time, then it got better in front of people.
Okay. Do you find that is the singing Lillian a character still, or is it truly yourself?
It's becoming much more myself. It started very much characteristic because like again, at the start of my program, it was a very performance oriented program. And so I was very much just trying to be the Lillian that was in that program. And so I was just trying to get through those few years of school. And yeah, you want everyone to like you at that program. You want the professors to like you. And so I was really trying to portray myself as like this version that had everything together. And then once I left school, I kind of had a big kind of crash because you're going from such intensity to quiet. And so when I hit the quiet and I had to start consistently pursuing this myself, then I kind of had to start sitting back and getting to know myself. And then I'd say, like, as of now, and with the content that's going to be coming out next month, it's very much just raw and vulnerable and me.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, that was the one thing that I'm still battling now
Hmm.
is up to now I've always been behind the camera and filming
Hmm.
people and directing people or photographing people.
Yep.
But now I'm in front of the camera and it's like
It's
I referenced it
terrifying.
as like a bit of like going for ego death because you have to start
Mm.
like removing those layers of like who am I actually and who do I show up as
Hmm.
and why am I showing up in that manner? And
Yeah.
this you start asking these I find I do more introspective questions in front of a camera than I would
Hmm.
in just like hanging out having a drink. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you feel that with your music it's more about discovering yourself?
I think my perspective of music has always been very like internal and what I want it to be because it's always been my outlet of creativity and creation. And so it's always been something that I sit with myself and do. And
Mm,
so it's always been about me and about what I want it to look like. And so I feel like as I'm like growing with music, it's less about, writing for other people and it's less about like writing a hit or a one off. And it's more about putting out what I feel reflects me better.
mhm.
So it's always consistently like keeping me with in the center of it, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So it's keeping it real. It's keeping it very vulnerable and to the point and um, very true to the source.
Because you teach music too. So how do you
Mhm.
teach that vulnerability in music?
It's kind of hard. because a
Yeah.
lot of people that I like either teach or explain my process to, they haven't had that time to sit with themselves. I find that like people don't sit with themselves very much, very often.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable sitting by myself
Yeah.
without distraction. And I think I've always been that way. Like I don't really have sound on in the background. I don't really like watch a show. I don't really listen to music super often. So it's always just kind of me in my head. And I find that that's like very rare. And so, yeah, the people that I talk to or that I try to teach, they don't experience that. And so they're not at the same level of comfortability with themselves to be able to see it from my perspective necessarily, or it at least scares them a little bit. When I say, yeah, you just need to sit with yourself and become inspired and write what you're thinking and feeling, they're like, I have to sit and think and feel like what?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it scares some people for sure.
You have probably picked the hardest time to become an artist, in my opinion,
Yes, definitely.
because, and we had an interview last week and Alini nailed it perfectly, where she's like, in order to receive the creativity into your mind, into your kind of like thoughts, you have to remove as much as possible.
Hmm.
So you got to remove all the distractions. You got to remove all of anything and
Hmm.
become. What did she say? Like an empty vessel, an empty vessel, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Where it's like, I'm gonna be gifted this ideal, be gifted this concept, and that to me is a really tough thing to do,
Hmm.
especially because I mean, you know me, I'm pretty busy, and then on top
Hmm.
of that, we have these times where we have to sit and we have to come up with these creative ideas and
Hmm.
sit and have like very specific messages to tell, but we want to tell it in a way that's interesting and thought provoking and
Hmm.
different, and more often than not, kind of artfully.
Hmm.
And like, how do you balance the noise of today with the signal that you're trying to get to? Like, do you just
Hmm.
remove, do you like get rid of your phone? Like, how do you do it?
Um, I'm definitely somebody who can, I love it. I love a good doom scroll every now and then, And I think in doing that, sometimes it makes me relate to a lot of other people because I didn't grow up with technology. And so like I have it with me now, but I think not growing up with it has allowed me to use it as more of a tool. So because I'm an independent artist, I'm needing to manage myself. I'm needing to make my own content. Like I'm having to use this thing as a tool. And so I use it as a tool more often than not, and so then if I'm ever being a consumer, then I kind of relate to my audience better by kind of understanding what they're watching, what they want to see, like how long are you going to sit and watch a video before you scroll. And so I think having both of those perspectives has helped me to remove distraction in my quiet time or in my work time, but it's also given me the perspective of what the consumer wants to be receiving right away when they watch a video or see something. And so it kinda helps my work process in that way where I have the best of both worlds, you know?
I like that.
Mhm.
My daughter Poppy
Mhm.
has a question for you, and that
Okay.
is, how do you navigate the waters of being an artist in today's kind of environment where you're.
Um, hmm. It's really easy to get discouraged. It's really easy to go anywhere online and see people with more followers than you, to see people who have made more music than you, to see people who have better opportunities than you at that time. Like there's always someone doing a bit better than you. And it's hard to see that. And I find I'm a very competitive person. And so I find it difficult to go to an online platform or a community and not feel competitive with that person, which is unfortunate because I really want art to be something that you can see others doing well and appreciate it. Right.
Yeah.
I want to shift my perspective to that, but being a competitive person, I can't do that very easily right now. And so I try to limit how much I'm noticing other artists and I try to just focus on what I'm doing and where I want to go. Right.
Mhm.
And so if my goal is to write really good music, like if I'm saying, oh, like the followers don't matter, and my goal is that my vulnerable and genuine art and music just finds the people who need it, then that should be my focus. And I shouldn't be filling my brain with all of these other artists who have numbers and who have streams.
Mhm.
Right. My focus should be on the art that I'm creating and appreciating other people's art that they can make and then trying to pursue that and get that to be the noise instead. And so I find it really difficult to navigate the waters of people, but I try to just limit what I'm looking at
Mm.
because having social media, like we went from having like a pond of like this city, like we went from Belleville to the world very instantaneously by picking up our phone. And that's really difficult as an artist, and especially an independent artist, because you're trying to be your own support. And so I'm trying to go back to looking at the pond and growing from there.
I like that because you're, it's really hard because, and you're kind of in the same struggles that I was in when I first started as a photographer, which was
Mhm.
like, I need to get known,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I don't want to be discouraged by looking at, whoever and seeing
Yeah.
them with like bigger clients or more
Mhm.
interesting work. And it's really comes back to do the work,
Mhm.
forget about the rest and just hone your craft.
Yes.
And it's really hard when you're young because you hear this and you're just like, well, what you're telling me to do is just work harder.
Mhm.
Right. And that sucks. And it's not necessarily work harder. It's more embrace the journey
Mhm.
and forget about the ending, right? And
Mhm.
I find more often than not, the moment I start doing that, when I start looking at the moment, like I always say, like put your feet underneath your head, right? Like be here
Mhm.
right now.
Mhm.
That will focus you enough to go, wow, I'm actually doing this,
Mhm.
right? Because you're either doing the art or you're not doing the art,
Yeah,
right?
I kind of made a system for myself mentally, because I'm a list maker. I love making lists. Like I have so many thoughts and so much on the go constantly that I need to have some form of organization. But I'm also very type B, and so I write lists all the time. But instead of just writing a typical to do list, I've created this like thing in my brain where I do a to do list so I have a to do list, but I always have my further goal in mind.
Mm.
And so even though it's important, like you're saying, to stay in place and to be appreciative of the now, I feel that it's really important to have further goals because you need to have a reason to keep going. Like,
Yep.
because there are seasons where I am like burnt out and I need that reason to keep recording. I have an album coming out next year or the year after. I need to record that, right? And so
Yep.
I need to have those bigger goals. And so when I'm writing a to-do list, I can have a to-do. You need to do all this today so that next week you can do this, so that in a year you can have this
Love that.
release. You know what I mean?
There's two lists that I highly recommend people do. Obviously, always the number one thing I did to get to the studio was just write the goal out and stick it somewhere.
Yep.
So like put it somewhere visible.
Look at it.
It has to be visible, and it can
Yeah.
be on a post-it note. It doesn't have to be pretty. But obviously the to-do list, but also the not to-do list.
Hmm.
And those are two lists that I carry
Definitely.
with me all the time. So like I know like where last year was up and down with like work and it was busy and I got burnt and I sat there and
Hmm.
said, where did we burn the hardest? And it was whenever I started working weekends, stuff started falling apart at home.
Hmm.
Right. So by having consistency there, so by focusing, saying, "Oh, we're going to try at all costs to not work in the weekends. That's one of the things that we do for on my not to do list.
Yeah.
And then you can actually really start to refine that, to do list. And, sometimes you put stuff on the to do list. You're like, nope, that needs to go over there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not going to get done.
Yeah.
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 So,
That's in the future.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a tough world because I think it's very daunting for people because, like you said, when you're looking at a pond,
Hmm.
it's easy to see those edges and just be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is where I'm fishing, right? But then when
Mhm.
you're standing on the edge of an ocean,
Hmm.
there's so much choice.
Yeah.
Like, how do you choose in today's world what to do?
Hmm. Um, Again, like I think that like 15 years ago, it was a lot clearer kind of where to go as an artist because there were a couple different lanes that you kind of got to choose, right? There was your country, there was kind of folk starting up, and then there was your more like pop and like there were these main genres. But now genre has completely changed. Now it's kind of getting into feelings and it's getting into moods and it's getting into colors. And so like everything about the music industry and just creative industries in general is just blending and changing consistently. And so it's less about choosing what do you choose? And it's more like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like you can't base your decisions or the time you're spending on anything other than what you feel you should be doing and pursuing that consistently.
Hmm.
Because if you try to copy someone else, you can take inspiration to a degree, but if you're trying to look like someone else, if you're trying to create what someone else is creating, like they've already done it
Yeah.
and you need to find originality in what you want to be doing.
Mm. I love that because
Mhm.
you're basically what you're referring to is almost like a calling versus a
Yeah,
specific thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Like if you were forced to like not do your genre, you would just hop into a different genre. You still pursue
Yep.
that because it's much larger than just like a genre.
Hmm. Definitely.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. The pathway is probably unclear at some point because
Hmm.
like we're originally just music
Mhm.
like writing music, and then you're into singing, and then what is it, a songwriter, singer? Like, where do you
Yeah,
identify right
like,
now?
I would say, like, I'm an artist and songwriter, but then, like you're saying, like, I'm a blend of a lot of things now, and I think you have to be.
Yep.
Like, you definitely need to, like, do anything in this industry, you have to have a couple different skill sets,
Mm.
and so that was kind of my goal in learning in school, like, that was my goal was to broaden my skill set because
Yeah.
I was a singer-songwriter. I could sing, I could write music, and I could play instruments, but I didn't have any of the technical aspect. And so now I've been developing my Pro Tools skills, and I'm able to go in and I understand it so I can record myself. I know what gear is good to use. I know how to set it up. I know how to record myself really well. I know what sounds clear and clean and concise. And I know, how to edit audio now. And I know how to blend a mix. And so I think broadening my skill set has really helped set me up so that I can pursue whatever. And I think my goal has to become very self sufficient,
Mm.
really and truly. Like, I think I love being a singer and songwriter, but so much pride with my work and so much clarity and so much confidence has come in being able to do so much myself because it allows me to collaborate and cooperate with other people when I choose to and when it feels right to do so. But I'm not requiring it. It's not a need. It's something I get to do now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like not an obligation.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because it can be very demotivating, especially when you're not seeing traction at the
absolutely.
beginning. So, like, how
Yep.
do you go through those? And these are always the early stages, right? Which is
Hmm.
like, I always tell people is like, there's a swath of time,
Hmm.
and it could be, a year, it could be 10 years. People don't know what this time length is, where you're just in it
Hmm.
and nothing seems to be working, but you're still doing it. And you
Hmm.
don't see those little incremental ups that you're getting because you're so deep in the work. Like, how do you
Hmm.
motivate yourself through that time?
I think how do I motivate myself when I don't feel very motivated? I think I being so versatile and having a versatile skill set has allowed me to become aware of small successes in different areas of my skills of
Mm.
my work. So I used to only find success when I could write a good song, but now I can find success when I write a good song, when I figure out a new melody, when I can sing a new riff because I'm developing my skill set in my vocal. But I can also look and I can find small wins when I record something really well, or
Mm.
when I have all of the elements for something recorded and now all that needs to do is for that song to be mixed. Like, I have all of these other places that I can look to find accomplishment. And so what I try to do now, because I'm very much like oh, I don't feel like doing this today. I do feel like doing this today. I try to base my work off of what I'm feeling that day to always keep me in it somehow. Because if I'm doing something, it's better than doing nothing. And so by consistently doing at least something, then I'm always finding accomplishment because I'm always moving forward and progressing. And
Hmm.
then the more I do that and just kind of do that in my free time, then an opportunity will come. And then that'll feel like an accomplishment because I get that opportunity, but I also still have everything that I've built that's continuing to be accomplishments.
Okay. Your opportunities
Mhm.
come in different forms and shapes. And recently you got the chance to be on Sirius XM.
Mhm.
Tell me about that. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels really cool. Yeah, it's very funky. Like, it's a year ago I never would have guessed that I would be someone to be on the radio, let alone have released music that is on the radio.
Yeah, because you were on
And
the
so
radio as well, right?
yeah, yeah. So being on the radio, being on Sirius XM, it's just like it's very surreal because I think I also grew up watching a lot of artists go from the YouTube artist to where they are now. And so I saw all of these videos of people like listening to their song on Sirius XM for the first time. And I never thought that I would get to have those moments. And so it's kind of surreal, but really cool to like be experiencing it. It still hasn't really settled in yet.
Is it
So
like you're observing someone else?
kind of. Sometimes it feels that way, you know? Like, I think I can get into places absolutely where I do still feel like a performer or an actor. And so it definitely feels like I'm just like on the outside looking into this like script that's playing out. And it's weird.
It's surreal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
very.
know. Like the first time I saw my artwork out in the wild,
Hmm.
where it wasn't my doing, it was like
Yeah.
a client did, and I didn't even know it was up.
Hmm.
And I was like, I did that. And it's like, and then you
Yeah.
get people be like, oh, there's this really cool billboard. And it's like, yeah, I did that. And they're like, oh, really? But it's just,
It's like,
it's hard
what?
to go, I pressed the button or I sang that song
Mhm.
sometimes. When you see, it's almost like you're out of body experience almost,
Mhm. Yeah, it's very surreal, like, hearing something that I recorded in my room, like, 3.5 years ago that other people are, like, enjoying outwardly and
Mm.
obviously. It's very strange.
Did you ever imagine your song being on the radio?
I think I had hoped and thought that it would be cool, but I don't know if I ever imagined it would be, you
Yeah.
know? I was very much like that would be nice. I've always been a very, like, if it's meant to be, it'll be, like, I'm cool with wherever I end up. That's
Okay.
why I wanted to be so diverse is so that I could go into any form of the industry and feel content.
Mm.
And so, I definitely hoped and was like, "Oh, that'd be really cool," but I would be okay just doing film music, or I would be okay just, doing these other things, and so
Yeah.
seeing it happen is very cool.
What is it about the music that just keeps you so entrenched in it?
It's a good question. I think,
Because were your parents musical?
my mom plays guitar and sings, and she had a CD when she was younger. My dad is not musical at all.
What?
Yeah, I
Jeremy's
know.
not
He
musical?
just appreciates. He just
Huh.
views. Yeah, but my mom's very musical and she's very good. And so like we grew up in a home with her singing and humming and always wanting us to kind of try it out and pursue it. And my
Hmm.
older brother started playing drums, and I was like, I need an instrument. Like, get me on this. And so I started learning guitar.
Well, because you
Um,
can't do drums because he's doing drums,
exactly. Oh my
but they
gosh.
complement each other, right? So
Yes.
you can
We were
jam.
very
Yeah.
much that family. Like, I'm just now getting into some percussion, and it's like, that's Wesley's thing. Hold on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still very much that way.
Amazing.
But yeah, so I got into guitar. Didn't love lessons. I love my guitar teacher. He's awesome. But I've always struggled with lessons and like
Hmm.
learning in that way, theory and stuff. Like I appreciate it, and in high school especially, like I really learned theory and like it was important.
Hmm.
But I've always just gone for the more creative, let me figure it out, let me play and try stuff.
My music teacher used to get so angry at me because he's like, if you would just listen to the lessons, you'd be absolutely incredible. But you have the ear and you lean on that ear too heavily.
Yeah.
Like, is that a thing in music? Is having the ear, is that a thing in music?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. There's definitely your different kinds of instrumentalists and musicians. Some people can like they read and they only read. They play what they read. And then some people are kind of a blend where they've read so much and they have so much of the knowledge that they can go off of that and create their own, but it's still a very technical skill set. And then there's other people I've noticed that are very colorful with it and they just can hear stuff and they can just figure it out. And then some people are a blend. Some people need some of the structure so that they can then go and have more of a creative, fun time
Hmm.
with it. But yeah, there's all these different kinds of people and how they learn differently and how they play differently. And it's interesting watching them interact and play together,
Hmm.
especially like in bands and stuff. It's kind of cool.
I find, especially in music, it's almost like um, frequencies are happening.
Hmm.
And when it's like people are very, sensitive to frequencies and then they
Yeah.
start to align with the frequencies. I don't know if
Hmm.
you ever watched John Baptiste.
I've not.
No? So go watch some of his videos where he
Hmm.
starts listening. They're like, hey, try and play this on the piano.
Hmm.
And you can see him like getting it and you can see him like flowing into the music. He's
Hmm.
almost he's almost giving himself up for the music.
Mm.
Right. And becoming at one with that song. And then he kind of
Hmm.
like starts playing and he's humming and singing. And it's very lyrical and very beautiful watching it. But
Hmm.
you can see someone who's being, as
Hmm.
soon as music's activated,
Hmm.
he's like absorbed into it.
Yeah.
Right. Is that kind of what you see with the bands too, is where they almost become more than themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. There were some bands that I've played with and some people who played in my band who like we were all very much that like you have a song, you have a structure, you kind of you come with this idea, and then just seeing people put that into play and put it into action and then just like go with it, because like it's so nice having a group of musicians who are good at what they do, because being good at what you do means that you can have that freedom to just like play and feel, and it's so cool to watch
Mhm.
other people do that, but it's really cool to be in the middle of it and feeling it with everyone. It's definitely like it wraps you up and you just kind of get lost in it. Like we could play the same bridge over and over and over again, and it can get more and more intense just because it just feels so good. And you could be playing it for like 4 minutes, but you just don't realize because you're just so like enthralled with it.
Time loss is a thing I find with the flow state,
Definitely.
where you get into there and it just becomes this
You just have no
all-encompassing
idea.
thing.
Yeah.
Is that what you're chasing all the time now?
I don't think I'm necessarily chasing it. I think I love when it happens. I get really excited when it happens, but I don't know. I think I try to find as much balance as possible so that when things like that happen, I appreciate it a lot more. Because if I'm always, it's kind of one of those things where if you're chasing it, it doesn't really happen as well. Like it's
Mhm.
very much something that you need to like have everything aligned in such a way and you need to let it happen. And so if you try to force it, it just kind of, you can feel that it's forced.
Yeah.
And so I just try to focus on being balanced and being good at what I do so that if the opportunity arises with the right people, then that can kind of pursue.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The technical aspect is
Mhm.
something that's really important.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's the same in music, but in film and photo, I find the people who are really technically proficient
Mhm.
often struggle to connect to the art,
Mhm.
right? So how do you balance the being technically proficient, but then
Mhm.
also balancing that just the flow and just the wonder that is the art form that you're in?
I think again, like being good at what you do and being fluent in it really allows you that freedom to do that. But I think also, like when you have either a technical skill or an artistic skill, you want to be good at it, but you also want it to be as good as it possibly can be. And
Mhm.
so I see it a lot in like some people that mix and master for me. Like they want it to be perfect. But sometimes in wanting something to be perfect, you're just not understanding what's going on in the studio and you're not seeing the magic that's happening with the players. And so I think like a certain level of understanding that you can make something good and then they can make it great. Like it doesn't need to be one or the other that has to be perfect. Like they can work really well together to create something really good. And that doesn't mean that you're limiting your skill set and that you're not trying to be as good as you can. It just means that you're allowing yourself to do well so that it can continue on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the marriage between the two because if you can get
Mhm.
those two together, I find it,
Mhm.
especially in film work,
Mhm.
is I am not particularly good at technical stuff,
Mhm.
but I love the concepting and the ideas and even the execution of it and the kind
Mhm.
of how it all flows together.
Mhm.
But where I fall flat is like understanding exactly like technical ratios and all of this
Mhm.
stuff. And so my team around me has a really acute awareness of different elements.
Mhm.
And when you combine it all together, you just have something that you just can't make on yourself,
Oh, I agree
right?
strongly.
Yeah.
It's really nice having people around you who are good at what they do and who know those things. And it's really nice being someone who can understand and appreciate both sides. Like I think that was very much my goal was to be able to understand the technical so that when I'm working with people who are technical and who go so in depth that I don't lose patience with them and I can understand and appreciate what they're doing instead of getting frustrated that we're not on time. Like things like
Yeah.
that. Like I think it just allows you to have a better working and flowing relationship with technical people and with creative people. And I think if it can be the same both ways of respect and appreciation, then I think it just flows so well.
Yeah. I find that my brain has to be one or the other. It can't be both.
Interesting. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
can either choose to be like, I'll be focused on the business side and I'll just be that,
Mm,
or I can focus on the creative side. But switching
interesting.
back and forth is really hard for me.
Yeah.
Like, even I found in scheduling too, is like
Hmm.
if I'm in a business mode, my schedule needs to be full.
Interesting.
Right. So we got to
Yeah.
have like element, element, element. But if I'm creative, I want that schedule to be empty
Yeah.
because I need to be able to work and to flow in the stuff that I'm working on.
I'm
Right.
very much both.
Yeah.
I'm very much both at the same time.
Do you get to have them both at the same time? Or do you
Um,
have to do switch tasking
It
like me?
depends. Like sometimes I have to do switch tasking, like if I'm working or if I have meetings set up that day or something, then you very much have to be in that mindset. But again, like because I'm someone who like just kind of wants to do what I want to do when I want to do it, I'm kind of always living in that flow of give and take. And I've had to rephrase productivity in my brain to myself because productivity I always thought was very much the result. But I'm learning this year that productivity can be your process to get to that result as well. It can be the time spent that you're learning what makes sense and what works for you. Like that is being productive as well. Resting is productive, right? Like I used to just go, 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 and I did not rest and I would burn out. And then I would when I would be in a burnout stage, or if I got sick, or if I had to rest, I felt so guilty and so unproductive. And so I've really tried to build a system where I can, rest and feel like it's productive and not feel guilty, which I struggle with a little bit. But I can also, be doing the technical aspects, and I can be doing the work, and I can be doing the meetings and feel productive. But I can also have a day where I'm like, I really just need to sit and either crochet and write music, or sit and just like listen to music to feel inspired. And that can also feel productive. And so I've kind of been able to build a schedule where I can, do what I need to do when I have to. But it's very open so that if I choose, no, I'm in a really creative mood today, I can adjust, which is nice.
Yeah.
So,
I find the world is super transactional,
mhm.
right? It just teaches us like if you're not doing something, you're not providing value,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think when I get into those, I think the burnout cycles for me happen when I'm doing stuff that I don't necessarily fully embody.
Mm.
Right. So it's like when there's like a ton of work, but it's like stuff that I'm not the best at. It's not
Mm.
really my passion. And it's like stuff that has to get done.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's just, I always call it like work, even though it's, it's like work,
Hmm.
we're going to get it done. Right. But it's like
Yeah.
pays the bills. But at the same time, I try to blend that into my schedule so I don't end up with too much work and end
Yeah,
up burning as a result.
definitely.
Because then if I'm burned, then nothing gets done. And the
Yeah.
all the creative work. Right.
Hmm. Yeah.
The creative work is, it's a tough one because so much of it is in your mind.
Yes.
Right. And I've really come to terms with the fact is that you can't really scale that creative part.
Hmm.
Right. When people, especially in today's world, that we talk about scaling all the time, it's like you really can't scale that part. That's something
Hmm.
you either embody or you don't. And that's okay. Right.
Hmm.
There's room in the world for everybody. Um, yeah. Like how do you, how do you celebrate like the wins that you get creatively
Hmm.
with without like because sometimes you do creative work and it's good creatively but
Hmm.
it's not fulfilling,
Hmm.
right? How do you celebrate those and how do you try to drive them back to kind of like your north star?
Yeah, so that kind of like in my brain that sparks as like in between songs. Like
Mm,
as a songwriter, like you might write 10 songs, but maybe one of them's good, or maybe two or three of them's good if you're lucky. And so that's very much like in writing those like in between songs. Um, how do you stay encouraged to get to the good song?
yeah.
It's definitely like I'm quite bad at celebrating small wins or big wins. Like I don't necessarily see it. I see it as a good thing. If it were happening to someone else, I can celebrate that so easily. But for some reason, because it's happening to me, I think of like, well, yeah, like I put in the effort to get to that. And so now in order to keep that up, in order to deserve that in the future, I need to keep pressing on and going. And so I find it hard to celebrate things and to be excited about it because my mind is very go to the next.
Hmm.
Like, okay, I need to like that happened, that's great, but I need to continue hopefully to achieve great. And so I never feel like I'm achieving great because I'm always chasing it. It's kind of strange. My brain is
Yeah.
very on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, and
Yep.
it's kind of hard to just like chill and
Yeah.
appreciate and celebrate. And so I've definitely had to over this past year as I'm getting more of these moments and reasons to celebrate, I'm definitely having to like
Yeah.
stop and try to celebrate those things so that I don't burn out, so that I don't feel like a failure, like it's hard.
Yeah. That's a tough one. Most artists live for the applause.
Mhm. It's true.
So if you're an artist that has trouble accepting the applause, how does that work?
Um it's a good question. I think I very much go back to like I'm doing this for me. Like I do I do music and I pursue it because I hope that people can connect with it. I write vulnerable pieces because I know that it's a very universal experience and I want people to be able to find a space where they can find community and connect on the same thing and bring light to areas that people just don't talk about for some reason. And so I definitely like my goal is to create that safe space, but initially, like, it is me in my room. Like, it is me creating that safe space for myself and for my friends who know about it to appreciate and experience that first. And so, um, yeah, I to a degree, sometimes it's nice to get appreciated and it's nice to have that applause sometimes, but I definitely do find it hard to accept. And I think that just goes to show that I'm doing this because I want to pursue it. And people's acceptance of me isn't going to dictate my choices and what I choose to pursue. And I think that because everything is so public now, it's really scary to go out there and to have so many people looking at you and like nasty comments are going to happen, and so I think that in finding it hard to accept applause and in finding it hard to accept that kind of excitement from people, I've also built a skin to be able to take on the nastier side of the industry. And so, yeah, it's hard to accept applause, but I think that's also a good thing to a degree because that just it keeps me humble. It keeps me doing what I'm doing for me and it keeps the focus on the vulnerability I'm trying to open up and pursue through my music and it's keeping the space that I'm creating online or in an auditorium very genuine and very real.
You mentioned goals are important.
Mhm.
So when you're achieving those goals,
Mhm.
when does Lillian clap for Lillian?
Um, hmm. I think when I feel content with something that I've been able to pursue and achieve and then get to look back on. Like there's like a song like Grew Apart on my EP that I really love. And like I love all my songs, but for some reason specifically once that one was produced by my friend Robin and he sent me the finished cut, I was just like, "Oh, I'm proud of that song." So I think like once I can because all of those songs, I've had to do the work of being in the studio or creating my own studio. I've had to sit with myself and do my own vocal takes, and I've had to be content with how my voice sounds, and I've had to do the instrumentation for myself. And that song specifically, I got to go in and record my high school music teacher playing cello. And so there's all of these moments that accumulate to this song happening and then once it's mixed and done and I can look back on it and be really proud of it, that's kind of when I get to appreciate my effort that went into it because I feel really happy about what I was able to create out of it. And so when there's a product that I'm really happy and excited about, that's kind of when I get to feel happy and applaud myself in that way. But I
Mm.
I I kind of like that it's you know the applause has to come from within myself. I like that I'm not going out searching for it. I like that I'm not trying to be a people pleaser. I'm trying to uh, do things and pursue industry that I can kind of gauge myself, whether I like it or not. I think it's good that it comes from within, even though sometimes it comes less often.
It's almost like the making it has become part of the goal itself,
Hmm.
right? Because you talk about all these intricate pieces and
Hmm.
like these elements and layers that you place upon your work
Hmm.
to make it into an art form.
Hmm.
Is it that are you chasing the perfect song?
No. I don't think so because like I like so many different songs. I've never been one to have a favorite song or a favorite artist or a favorite movie or like a favorite anything because I just like too much. And so I don't think I'm chasing the perfect song. I think I'm just trying to create something that's very very raw and authentic and real. Like
Okay.
my like goal or my thought if I had to put my hope for success in the future in like a moment, it's very much like um being surrounded by people who have found my music at some point in their lives when they really needed it. And then those people then pursued listening to those songs and making them their own. And then, out of love and care for those songs, wanting to come maybe see me perform them live. And then we all get to sit in a space together as a community of people who are human and who have experienced hurt and loss and all these very real things. And we finally get to put labels and words to them and validate them together in a room and we all get to sing it out together. Like that to me is like a moment I really want to happen in my life.
So what you're talking about is building community in so
Mhm.
many ways.
Definitely.
Like how important is community to art?
Very it's very important. Totally. Yeah. Like I think art is something that is really important individually because it can be expression and it can be a way that you process something. And it's very human to want to create something beautiful, but it's also very human to want others to see that. And I think it's really important that people connect because of art, Like I think of going to some sort of art studio and you see art on the walls, well, you want to go up and you want to appreciate it and you want to look at it and you want to think about the person who made it. But then other people are appreciating it and you get to connect with those people too about that thing. And so I think that's really important in all facets of art. And I think it's especially recently, like getting connected with more like film and audio and music, like having all of these creative industries blend and merge has been so cool because you can appreciate everyone's art and what they bring to the table, and together you can make something even more beautiful across all of those platforms, or you can only bring what you have brought as art and it's still appreciated and it's still cool. And so I think community is what makes art like so important and so human, and it helps connect us all because everyone experiences it and
Yeah.
everyone appreciates it.
Well, because with your art, it's an expression of self, right? So then
Mhm.
if you don't have anybody to say the expression of self to,
Yeah.
then you're really not making the art for anybody except for yourself. And that is a tricky one because then at that
Mhm.
point, it's, you make something for others to experience so they can know how you felt in that moment.
Mhm. Mhm. And when you're making something that's an expression of yourself, like I know I as an artist like, it's so hard to tell when a song is done. It's so
Mhm.
hard to tell when one of my paintings is done. It's so hard to tell when a sketch is complete. It's hard to tell if a sketch is good or not. Like, you can get so in your head and bottled up about something that you're trying to create that you never know if it's done or good enough. And I think having other people and being able to share it in community just gives you perspective and
Mhm.
it gets you outside of yourself. Like, I think that's really important. It's important to know yourself. It's important to experience yourself, and it's important to express yourself, but it's really important to step outside of yourself and to view it from other people's perspectives, so that you can see that it's a beautiful thing and you can notice someone else's thing and notice that it's a beautiful thing. And I
Mm.
think the community aspect is really important too because like we're all individuals, and those people who are making this art that you're appreciating probably also felt insecure about it at some point. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like they went through a whole process to create that thing. And so I think that just offers a whole other layer of ability for people to connect because they see that, oh, you struggled to make that, I struggled to make this.
Mhm.
And you can just connect on that very human level as well.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've been doing more of is just opening up as to how difficult this is and
Mhm.
how difficult it is to step on stage and to do this and to whatever we're creating.
Yeah.
We've always been very like we were saying transactional. So it's very, output driven.
Mhm.
This is the video you get at the end of this. This is the photo you get at the end of this. This is the website or whatever the content is that we're putting out into the world. It's an output, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's what you're getting judged on,
Mhm.
but you don't get judged on the hours and hours spent in between, right? Like I know
Mhm.
like some of my most um most connected with images are the ones that I spent the least amount of time on
Mhm.
and did it on a whim.
Yep.
It's like, oh, this would be really cool if we did this. Let's just shoot this quickly.
Mhm.
And people are just like, that's cool. And it's like, no. But then do you find that sometimes they react in a way that you don't understand? And then you're forced to kind of go down the rabbit hole of like, well, why did they like that?
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes definitely. Like I think like for example, there was one time when I was kind of in a stress of like, oh, I should be posting more. And randomly one day I was making a cake with no measurements. I was like, I'm just going to put stuff in a bowl and I'm going to make a cake. And to this day, it is still my most viewed and liked and commented video. And it was just a whim of like, I should just post me making a cake. And like, I was like, why did people prefer seeing me make a cake over like my art, my purpose of having this
Hmm.
platform, and yet me making a cake people connected with the most? And
Yep.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
As an artist, it's like you put out your piece and it's like it's beautiful. It's been worked on for hours, and
Yeah.
like people are like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you'll post a video of like, hey, so I'm getting ready and I noticed that my shoes are on backwards, and they'll be like, that's the best thing ever. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how? Why? Like,
Yeah.
why are we connecting with this? And that's it's a very humbling experience too,
Definitely. Yeah. I think it
because
makes it very real. And
yeah,
yeah, definitely for sure.
I think the connection is what matters.
Hmm.
And as artists, we spend so much time thinking about how to connect that sometimes the connection happens on a different layer than what we're expecting.
Yeah, and that's why that perspective is important because if you're throwing something out on a whim and people are appreciating that more, then it might make you look back and go, "Oh, I didn't need to." Like sometimes it's really nice to be able to be so detail oriented about something that you care about, but sometimes if you're letting that get to a point where it's all you're thinking about and you're stressing about it,
Hmm.
and then something else does really well that you didn't even think about, then it
Yeah.
kind of gives you that perspective shift of like, "Oh, I don't need to be this intense.
Yeah, exactly.
I can restore some energy and kind of
Hmm.
take a break and yeah, just keep trying to do that other thing for a while."
I find creativity is like entropy,
Mhm.
and I feel like it's an all consuming force.
Mm.
So, how do you protect yourself
Mhm.
from such a vast energy
Mm.
without yourself becoming wound up and eaten by it?
Mm. I think there are times when in terms of creativity being this vast that you don't want to get sucked up in sometimes is what you're kind of saying. Like there are times when I need to be consumed by it, you know? So I think it's definitely about it's balance, but it's not a typical person's balance. Like I feel like as a creative, my balance looks so different than like my mom's or my friends. Like my balance feels like balance, but it looks so different compared to a
Mhm.
typical not as creative involved person. And so I think that in terms of like that vast creativity, like almost like mode that you just get into, sometimes you need to be careful about it because it is all consuming. And sometimes if it's all consuming and it's becoming a negative thing, like if you're being consumed by that because you're meeting that place with a negative feeling or a negative emotion that you're processing. Like sometimes I write sad music. And if I'm coming into that space with a sad song, like getting consumed by it can be kind of dangerous because it can really just become how you feel for that month.
Mhm.
And so I think I kind of set aside time to when I start feeling that way, I will set time to be in that place because it's important. I think a lot of creativity can come out of it. A lot
Mhm.
of really good ideas can come out of it. I'm always recording when I'm doing it just because anything from that could be taken and used. So I limit it, but I still allow it to happen because
Yeah.
it's important for that creativity balance.
I find for myself that, and because I mean, I've been doing this since I was 21,
Mhm.
right? And so I really have an acute awareness of how and when to drop into that creative flow.
Yeah.
And more often than not, it's like the shedding of as many different things as possible to get to that point.
Mm.
But I find sometimes I can see it's kind of like we're standing on like a big, if you imagine like a giant whirlpool.
Mhm.
And I know that as soon as I drop into it, I'm going to lose sense of everything.
Mhm.
Right. And so I find the moment I hold onto the railing too hard
Mhm.
and don't let myself, then the creativity won't take, right? And it's just
Mhm.
like you get frustrated and you get, that doubt comes in. It's like, are you really even a creative? Do you even do this for
Mhm.
a living? It's like, and
Yeah.
there's all these layers that kind of stack as a
Mhm.
creative where I think when your job is very specific,
Mhm.
right? So like you're making a laptop, there's very outlined rules that you have to go for A, B, C, and you can pretty much, do that. But when you're creating, it requires the element of letting go
Mhm.
that only you can achieve if you know yourself enough to go, I'm not in a spot where I'm going to let go or I'm going to be, holding on too tightly to this idea. And we talk about this all the time with
Mhm.
ideas, which
Yeah.
is like, are we holding on too tight to this one idea? Is this what's stopping me from getting into that creative flow? Is that the same for songwriting?
Definitely. Absolutely. Like I think it's really easy to get into song structure and song formulas. Um which is, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and so on and so forth until the end of your 3-minute song. Like there is a structure for a song. And it's really easy to get wrapped up in that. And when you sit down to write a song, it's really easy to think in that way, to think in that structure, to think in that formula. And so then your result is always going to be that 3-minute basic song. And so I find that I've definitely done that. And it happens in either song structure or it can happen in the key of the song you're in. You can get used to like the same chord progression every time you sit to write down. You go to the same chord progression. and you're trying to make it sound different, but you can't because it's the same chord progression, which can be a cool challenge in and of itself. But you have to be so open to just doing whatever, right?
I'm just thinking what mine go to is. It's always like G, C, D.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
It's like
yep.
it's going there, and I'm
G.
like, wait, am I playing a Beatles
Right.
song?
And
It's like,
mine recently has been open detuning. Like
oh, really?
open detuning. I have my same like 6 or 7 chords in open detuning and that I always go to because it's so pretty sounding.
Yes.
But then you kind of get
It's very
stuck
flowery.
in it. It's very flowery.
Yeah.
But then you get stuck in it, even though you think that having this different tuning, having this different thing, like you're opening your options, but really you're limiting them.
Yeah.
And so I think it's definitely like you need to be so self-aware to recognize whether what you're doing is limiting or whether it's opening you up to a different opportunity to be creative in another way. Like I feel like recently I've been trying to become more comfortable with the idea of like solos and breakdowns and time changes and key changes, like all of these like fancy, fun, cool elements that are very outside of your typical songwriting structure. You can just kind of forget about or get lost in because you're not thinking of them. And so I try to like sit and with something that I've made, and it's really hard when you've already made it to be like, okay, how can I break this open now that it's done? How do I reopen it and reimagine it?
Yeah.
I feel like that's really hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get to a place where when I sit down, I'm already open so that I'm not having to work backwards.
I think too, having a little bit of unexpected in music
Mm-hmm.
can make or break the song.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you think of all the iconic songs, they all have a moment where it's unexpected where they're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you as the listener kind of on edge, like, what's going on now?
Is it going to be good?
Is it going to be here now?
Yeah.
Like, you know, everyone has a fingerprint in their music, right? Like after a while you get to be like, oh, I know that artist. So I know what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get into the whole, like, you know, oh, this person's always doing the same. It's just different variants of it. Right. And it's like, you know, we all know musicians that are like that. But it's really hard, especially when it's a non-paid creative, to know when it's done.
Yep.
Like, how do you, like, do you just have to walk away at some point? Is that what you do? Or are you just like, oh, you know that it's done?
It depends because something can always be improved further. Like even looking at Miss You or even looking at like songs from my EP, I'm like,
She's still my favorite, by the way.
I'm glad. But even looking back at those, I'm like, oh, I would have changed this and this and this and this. Like as time passes, you're like, oh, I totally could have redone this in this way. Like something is definitely always able to change and able to be improved. But when it comes to like music now for me and finishing projects, like there's some that I'm like very like, like I feel like this could be a little bit better, or I feel like this could be different in this way, or I'm not fully satisfied with it, but you just kind of have to move on.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely at a point where I have so many songs in the works right now that I cannot spend more than a few months on one. Like it just, there isn't space in my capacity mentally or creatively to, you know, do it. And you still want it to be good. Like, and I think that's that's the hard part about it is you want it to be good and you want your craft to show through these products. But you also need to recognize like what you have going on, what your limitations are, and you need to move on to the next so that you can continue to grow, so that you can continue to get better. Like you have to get your product out so that you can look back on it in 10 years and say, look at how much I've grown, right? If I just keep everything on my hard drive, then I'm not going to have any accountability to look back and see where I've come, you know? And so it's important to just get things out so that in 10 years I can look back and be like, wow, that was crap, but I can see how much better I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find for me, especially doing the podcasts, I get out of a podcast and I'll sit there and I'll look at Brady and I'll be like, I didn't know that about myself. Is there ever that moment in your music where you sit there and you kind of you drop a track down and then you're just like, I didn't realize that I was going through that, or this was something you learned about yourself.
Absolutely. My writing process still to this day, like confuses me. Like I love writing songs. I love writing music so much, but I will write a song and it will just flow. It will happen. I just like most of my songs, all the songs I have out right now, I just came from an afternoon of sitting and just like writing. So there wasn't a whole lot of thought and like, you know, like the red string of like aligning things and organizing it. It was just writing it out because it just felt right. And then I go to look back on it later when I'm recording and I need to remember what the lyrics are. Or when it's out and I'm going back to like sit and listen to it again. And I'm like, oh, like a lot of my stanzas connect across the song. And this is relating to this situation that happened in my life at that time. And this is relating to that and the growth through it. Like, I don't even realize when I go to look back, like how much is intertwined into a song. And then even in the recording process, how much of that is complemented through instrumentation and production. And
Mm.
like if I have a space where I'm saying alone in a song is a line, my lead vocal is alone. There is nothing else going on. And so it not only is cool to see the songwriting happen, but it's cool to see the production elements incorporated in that and to look back on it because I'm not always thinking of it actively when I'm doing it, but I look back on it and it all worked out really well. So it's kind of confusing because I feel aware, but I'm not as aware as I thought I was, you
Yeah.
know?
It's like
Yeah.
layers of awareness get like stacked up, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
If you had to write just one song for you, what
Mm.
would it be?
Oh. Hmm. That's a good question. Dang. If I had to write a song, to me.
Just one song.
Mm.
Because I know everyone goes to an album in their mind.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't even know. An album would be cool, but I think one song, hmm, it would probably be like reminiscent because I like writing sad things. So I don't think it would be very happy or like excitable, even if I feel those things. I feel like it would be much more reminiscent. I like reflection. So it would probably be a very reflective song and a very hopeful moving forward song. And it would probably um be quiet to start and very ballad-esque. I love me a good ballad with some sort of really cool breakdown and halftime at the end. Um Yeah, something reflective, something hopeful, looking forward to something after looking at something, and very ballad-esque, um, with some form of melody that just, like, hits my soul. Because, like, there's certain songs that I can think of that every time I hear it, I'm like, "Oh," it, like, hits me and it inspires me. I'm like, "That's what I need to be doing. I need to write something that can make me feel that way." So it'd probably be something that
Melancholic?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah.
Beautiful. Lillian, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to share with the audience that you're doing? When's your album coming out? How
I
to
have
find you?
I have a single coming out this February. I have a single coming out, and then I have 3 or 4 more singles lined up after that, and then I have more singles that will be done after that, and then in probably a year and a half, I have an album that's gonna start rolling out. And then, like this year, I'm performing live more often this summer. I might be going on a tour. So lots to come, but a lot of it needs to line up. And so I can't give out details very much.